Hello everyone, it's me Danny, and today I wanted to talk about karma. So karma is one of those topics that's sort of widely misunderstood, and it's also extremely interesting and important to understand to some degree. So if you've studied Buddhism at all, or heard of Buddhism, you still kind of might understand the general concept that karma is the law of cause and effect. So it's related to the scientific sort of physics principle of every action has a reaction. So it is actually, in some ways, it is that simple. Where we get confused is when people use the language, they're karma, or something bad happens and people go, oh, it's karma. So I want to talk about that a little bit more, and so we can understand what that concept is and how you can understand this principle, this universal principle, and how it impacts you. So, one of the interesting things about karma, in terms of if you believe in past lives, is that we come into the world and we have this already very rich environment of very particular situations. So we were born into a particular family with particular qualities, and you have particular relationships and particular things that trigger you. And as anyone, I'm not a parent, but as anyone who is a parent, or if you've asked a parent, they would definitely tell you that, each of their children were so different and they didn't do anything differently necessarily while they were raising them. So how could they be so different and that type of thing? So obviously you could talk about genetics, but from a Buddhist perspective and also from an astrological perspective, we're born we're not necessarily a clean slate. We're born with a lot of different traits already. We have preferences, we have things we like, we don't like, we have ways we react to certain situations. And so it's really interesting to understand that sort of from that big picture perspective, and that it ties into, to some degree, what karma is. So first, from a Buddhist perspective, it's a very complex thing. I've taken classes about karma and I still can't even fully wrap my brain around it, and that's part of karma. You can't really fully understand. It's the type of thing where, one interaction that I have today could change the course of my entire life. That's sort of how karma is. Every little thing that you think or do, and thinking is really powerful as well, because you are going to manifest whatever you're thinking about. So any thought you have, any action you take, any person you talk to, any little tiny thing, leaving 1 minute earlier or later, all of these things have a broader impact. And it's like a ripple in a lake. You drop a pebble and those ripples go forever, and you can't possibly, with our human brains, we can't possibly conceptualize what that means. Everything we do impacts everything forever and ever in a rippling way. So from that broader perspective as well, with regard to karma and with regard to past lives, Buddhists would say that any positive thing that you do and any negative thing that you do creates ripple effects. And period. And they call them karmic seeds. So you're planting these seeds. It's like, you're dropping that pebble into the lake, the ripples, and it's also sort of a seed. So you planted something, and you might not know exactly how it's going to come to fruition, but you're planted something. So whether you're, really going forward in your day with an open heart and mind, and creating beautiful interactions with people, and throwing away your trash and doing these things that with a positive intention, you're planting these positive seeds. And there's a chance that those seeds will one day bear fruit. And also when you create discursive conversations with people, and you have, you react out of anger and you're creating disharmony, you're also planting seeds. You're planting these negative karmic seeds, and they get stored for you. And so in Buddhism, there's this concept that all of these seeds get stored in this sort of non-physical space, sort of your big bucket of seeds, your karmic seeds, and it's a mixture of all positive and negative. And so that's what you have working with. So when you come into the world, in Buddhism, they would say that when you die, the part of you that you think is you, your ego, doesn't carry forward, but there is a part of you that is primarily your karmic, positive and negative debt that is propagated forward. So if, the more positive sort of karma you have, the more fortunate your next life would be, potentially, depending on how you choose, because you could also choose to go into a life that has more complexity and more negative circumstances in order to grow and to add more into it. So, they're said that enlightened beings, when they, if they decide to reincarnate, they might often go into really difficult situations so that they can bring their light and their mindfulness into tricky situations. So it's not to say that if you have, if your life's been hard, that you have a lot of bad karma. It could also be that you've chosen that because you wanted to learn more, you wanted to grow more, and you wanted to be able to shine your light in a difficult circumstance. So again, there's no really good or bad, and we talk a lot about that in Buddhism too. Creating duality is something that's very human. The human mind does that, splits things into two. But from a karmic perspective, we're creating karmic seeds every day, all day long. And, if we're nurturing those seeds. One thing too that I'll mention that was really helpful to me when I took this class in karma was that one of the important pieces to complete a karmic seed, to complete the creation of a karmic seed, is you have to have no regret. So if, for example, if you did something bad, if you did something that was discursive, and afterward you notice, you're like, oh, I feel so bad, I so regret doing that, that karmic seed won't necessarily get created. So it's when we do things mindlessly, and we're like, I don't care, screw that person type of thing. We don't have regret about something that happened. And also for positive, that is relevant too, for positive. So if you do something positive for somebody and then afterwards you're like, oh, I kind of wish I didn't do that because it took me a lot of time, then you also don't create that positive karmic seed. So you have to have no regret for the action to create a seed. And then just briefly, because I've already spoken a lot about this, but briefly with regard to astrology, people always come to me and they say, oh, well, I don't like astrology because it seems like everything's fated to be this way. And from my perspective and all of my background and understanding of Buddhism and astrology, that's not necessarily the case. You're not fated to do anything, but your chart at your time of birth, your birth chart, is showing you sort of where, it's almost like a blueprint of your karmic seeds. It's saying, kind of what you've been through, what some of your neurotic tendencies are, what some of your strengths are, and it's really like a map, in my opinion, to navigate your life and to be able to really discover and open up into who you really are. So yes, we're born into this life with a lot of tendencies and traits already, and your chart is highlighting a lot of what those karmic seeds are. And so again, the purpose in all of this is to begin to understand yourself better, to be a little bit more gentle with yourself, and to let yourself just have a little bit more fun and have a little more of a playful attitude that, we're all working through this together, and we're all on our own paths, and we're all trying to figure this all out. The last thing I want to say is with regard to karma, there are things you can do to alleviate negative karmic seeds that you planted. And some of those things include practice, in terms of mindfulness practices, meditation. While you're meditating, you are coming into your body, into the present moment. And as you're practicing, thought patterns and karmic patterns are going to be coming up in your mind and in your body. Aches and pains, certain negative beliefs, and you breathe them in and you breathe them out and you release them. And there's a lot of bravery that's required to do that. So in those types of moments, and also if you come into a situation where usually you do a certain thing or you react a certain way, say your knee-jerk reaction to a certain situation coming up for you. Say someone's mad at you and you feel guilty and you're about to go on this whole sort of rampage. When you break that pattern by just doing something else, by just saying, okay, I can't talk right now, I'm gonna go process this a little bit, or if you just do a jumping jacks or do a handstand, anything other than what you normally do, you're also breaking and releasing a negative karmic seed. So you're not doomed, you're not destined, you're not fated to do anything, but this is all helpful information that can help you discover more of who you are and how to move forward on your spiritual path. Yeah, so that's my talk for the day. Check out my update to my website, dannypugh.com. I have upcoming classes if you're in LA. I teach astrology. I'm teaching a Reiki certification course coming up soon. And I'm also hosting this beautiful 2-day program called Design Your Dream Life with a friend of mine, and it's going to be a beautiful weekend. So please follow my channel, and I'm always posting new inspiration, and I'm really interested to hear from you guys if there's any topic you're curious about with regard to Reiki, astrology, or life coaching, or discovering your purpose. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at my tiger spirit. By the way, tiger is my spirit animal if you didn't know that. And yeah, thanks for checking in, and I will see you guys all soon. See you later.